And thank you for joining me for this demonstration of Calibra data quality. Today I'm going to take you through a quick tour of how to upload a data set or connect it to a data set through the Calibra data quality interface, kick off a data quality scan, build a data quality model, and then hopefully rerun it to see some improvements or changes over time. All right, so from the Calibra data quality homepage, the first thing I want to see is the data to which I have existing connections. So from there, I'm going to go to the Explorer, and here's where I can see a list, sort of a hierarchical view of everything that I'm connected to. Right, so I see all my connections over here to sort data source systems like Microsoft SQL Server, Google BigQuery. We've got some Oracle systems here, and then as we go down, you'll see the rest have some Postgres databases as well. If I wanted to see remote file connections, things like S3 buckets, Azure file storage, I can do that right here. You can see all the different S3 buckets that I'm connected to, including my own Connelly Demo DQ bucket right here, containing this orders file, this CSV file of orders. If I wanted to see the actual the listing of connections and create my own S3 bucket connection, I can click on Add Connections, come to my Connections Admin console, and I can come down here. We could add one. We can see my existing connection right here, but we could also click on Add and start filling out this template referencing the actual bucket as it exists in Amazon AWS S3, giving it a name, and then entering in our authentication keys. It's pretty straightforward. But what we're going to do for this is we're going to upload a temporary file. So let's go back to my Explorer, and we'll go down to temp files. And this will allow us to just kick off a CSV file and build a model to scan it for data quality. So right here, I'm going to go to temp files, and I'm going to add a new temp file. I'm going to choose a file, and we're going to go with my orders CSV right there. That's been successfully added. I can come down here and I can see my orders CSV, and I'm going to create a new job. You can also see other iterations of this that I've created in the past. So I'm going to say create a DQ job. This will take me to a brief scan of the file and some basic information. I'm going to click here. We're going to actually load the file into memory. We get a preview of it down here. We can look at scope and range, which we can also just leave as default. And then we can start to build our model. Now we'll leave the defaults on for now, but right here up at the top you'll see build layers. We can build in pattern recognition, outlier detection, duplicate detection, and data validation against the source files. So let's just click on leave these as defaults, and we'll click on save and run. And down here we have the option to run it. Let's change the name first of all. We'll call this Connelly DQ Demo. All right, and we'll leave the date as it is. So we'll hit run, we'll run that job, and we can get a readout here of the job status. But to see if the job has completely finished, we can come here to on our navigation tab, click on jobs, and that will open up the jobs page where we can see its actual status. We can see that it's still running. It's loading in the results of the scan. The scan is finished itself, but it's loading in the results of the DQ scan to the platform, and we'll just hit refresh there, and we should see it complete in just a minute. There we go. So it's completed now. Let's click on the name to start looking at the results. And here you can see we've been given a score of 91. Now we don't have any rules implemented or any of these other layers that we were looking at earlier, but what it has detected is some errors under the Shapes tab, and this is done automatically. Now, the first thing we can see is that it's looking at an amount, right? And it's looked at this, and it's found this value in the amount column, and we can see that that's clearly incorrectly or improperly entered, and so this is an actual valid error. So I'm going to say validate. This is a valid error, and I'll do that. I can also come down here to dates. I can see that these dates have been improperly entered, so I'm going to validate both of these. Invalid dates. We can always enter in our own comments. And now we've done that as well. For the email, we're just going to leave that as it is for now. It's actually, as you can see here, it's not a complete email. So actually, we'll just go ahead and validate that. Invalid email, improper email format. And then for the rest of these, first name, last name, and product, you can see that these are actually valid product names because they don't have to actually conform to any specific string pattern or data pattern. So we can actually invalidate these and tell Calibra data quality that really it should not be doing this kind of pattern recognition on these columns. So we're going to invalidate these. Valid name, something like that. And then we will do a bulk validation of these three product names. Valid products. Oh no, we want to invalidate that rather. There we go. So this is telling the Calibra platform that it is these are not valid errors. That's why we're invalidating them. And so we have the option to save and retrain, but let's just do that because we're going to see some changes in data quality over time when we rebuild the model and implement our own rule. So let's just hit save for now, and we'll leave that. And we can say with last name, we'll say this is a valid name. There we go. All right, great. So we're ready to start implementing our own rule. And to do that, we can come to the top right here, click on Rules. And here's the rules interface where we can see everything that has been created. It's done a quick scan, highlighted errors. We can also see the different fields and a readout of the data types. But what we want to do is start implementing our own rules for checking this data. So we're going to do a quick, simple rule here. We're going to look for nulls in the email column. So I'm just going to write a quick sentence, a quick abbreviated SQL statement there called email is null. We'll give it a name, email is null. Very descriptive. And so we'll click on that, validate it. It has passed its syntax, so this will be a properly formatted rule that will be executed when the job is run. I'll click OK, I'll click save, and now this has been saved as part of our DQ model. Let's go back and let's start rerunning the model and see if we can detect any changes in data quality. So we'll go back to Dataset there from the breadcrumb menu on the top left. We will click on Edit. And here's where we can rerun the model. Now we could rerun it after we did those validations. We could click Save and Retrain and it would rerun it instantaneously. But we want to implement all those validations or invalidations and our rule and run them all together. So what we're going to do is we're back at the model. We can just click on Save and Run. This will take us back to the screen where we can kick off this job. I'm going to change the date. We'll click it. We'll just say it's running. We'll imagine that it's running 4 days in the future. And so now that I'm all done, I want to click and run this again. So we'll click Run. There we go. We can see the job progress. Again, let's come over to our Jobs tab just to understand when the job has finished loading the results into the platform. You can see that it's still running. I'm just going to hit refresh the page. And it's still running, and we'll give it 5 more seconds, and the results should be loaded into the platform. And there we go. We can see our second job has now completed. Let's open this up. And now we see an improved score of 96. It's still detecting the 4 shapes that we said were valid errors. And you can see here, according to our rule under the Rules tab, it's now found 2 null values in the email column. So we can go back to the data source and correct those. And here you can see we can track this over time, and we can schedule these jobs to run, of course, automatically and scan source system files, and we'll see how data quality in a data set improves against the rules that we've applied. And here we can see an improvement of the score from 91 to 90, and a score of 96. I hope this was informative, and thank you for your time.